Welcome to T-News 9 channel. Today we bring you Chapter 11 from the novel The Cases That Wait, titled The Second Look. You don't find the truth by rushing past it. I had already been here. That was the problem. I returned to the alley alone. No partner, no tape, no hurry. The place hadn't changed, same cracked pavement, same flickering street light, same smell of damp concrete and old trash. But I had. The first time we came here, we were chasing speed. Close the case. Write the report. Go home. Today I was chasing control. Who had enough control to slow down? The victim hadn't fought. No signs of panic. No chaotic movement. That didn't happen by accident. People fight when they're surprised. This man wasn't surprised. He was waiting. I stood where the victim had stood and counted the seconds. How long would it take to pull off a watch? Not rip it. Not steal it. Remove it carefully. Place it aside. Too long for a stranger. Too intimate for a robbery. This wasn't about money. This was about power. The voice came back quiet, steady. You're asking better questions now. I ignored it and kept thinking. Who knew the victim well enough to slow down? Who didn't need to rush? Who wasn't afraid of being recognized? The answer wasn't on the street. It never was. I looked up at the windows above the alley. Some were dark. Some were lit. Life continued, untouched. That's when it hit me. We had focused on movement, who ran, who fled, who passed by. But we hadn't asked the simplest question. Who stayed? I stepped back, letting the alley fall out of focus. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was a crime of relationship. Someone close. Someone familiar. Someone who didn't panic when things went wrong. As I walked away, I didn't feel relief. I felt something worse, certainty. Because once you see that, you can't unsee it. And I knew exactly where to look next. The answer wasn't in the alley. It was in the people who said they cared. Chapter 12, titled The Friend. They say the closest people are often the hardest to see clearly. This case was proving that to be painfully true. I was sitting across from the victim's best friend, and he was a talker. He talked and talked, filling every moment of silence with stories, anecdotes, and memories. A constant stream of words designed to create a picture of a perfect friendship. But that's the thing about liars, isn't it? They talk too much. The truth doesn't need all that padding. Real stories have gaps, moments of quiet reflection. His narrative was seamless, too perfect. A voice in the back of my head, the one I've learned to trust over the years, whispered a single, insistent thought. Ask about the watch. It was a detail that had been bugging me, a loose thread in his otherwise tightly woven tale. So I leaned forward, my tone casual, and I asked him about the watch. For a fleeting moment, the smile on his face faltered. It was just for a second, a tiny crack in the carefully constructed facade, but it was enough. In that split second of hesitation, I saw everything. The flicker of panic, the scramble to find the right words, the sudden coldness in his eyes. The truth, or at least the shadow of it, had finally shown its face. He quickly recovered, his smile returning, a bit tighter this time, but the damage was done. I knew he was hiding something, and it was connected to that watch. His perfect story was beginning to unravel, and I was ready to pull on that first thread. The friend, the one who was supposed to be grieving, had just become my primary suspect. The real work was just beginning. Chapter 13, titled Reconstruction. Let's set the scene. Imagine a room, thick with tension. The air is heavy with unspoken accusations and half-truths. A detective, our protagonist, sits at a table, a puzzle of human actions laid out before him, not in words, but in movements, in timelines, in the silent language of what was physically possible. He's trying to rebuild the night. Not just listen to the stories people tell, but to see the night as it truly happened, second by second. His mind is a whirlwind of calculation. He's not interested in rewriting the past. He wants to reconstruct it, piece by painful piece. He meticulously maps out the last hour of that fateful night over and over again. He pushes aside the conflicting statements, the emotional pleas, the web of lies and convenient omissions. He focuses on a single, cold, hard question. What could they physically do? He traces their paths. Who had the opportunity? Who had the time to slip away, unseen, and then reappear as if nothing had happened? Who needed a moment of privacy so desperately that they would risk everything for it? He examines the layout of the house, the timing of every known event, the small, seemingly insignificant details that others might overlook. A closing door, a brief absence, a moment of solitude. The puzzle pieces begin to click into place, forming a picture that is both shocking and undeniably clear. The timelines intersect, the alibis crumble, and the possibilities narrow down until only one remains. It's a chilling realization, a moment of dreadful certainty that settles in his gut like a block of ice. He looks up from his mental map, his focus shifting from the abstract to the concrete, from the past to the present. He's found his answer. The logic is inescapable. Only one person fits the profile. Only one person had the time, the opportunity, the need. And with a slow, dawning horror, he realizes that this person, the very center of his reconstructed night, the keystone of the entire mystery, is sitting directly across from him, right at this very moment. The hunter has found his prey, and they're sharing the same table. Chapter 14, titled Confession Without Words. It starts with a powerful statement. They confess when they think they're safe. This sets the stage for a psychological game, not a direct confrontation. The narrator explains their method. I didn't accuse him. I laid out the timeline, minute by minute, no emotion. Just facts. Imagine the tension in that room. The air must have been thick with unspoken questions. The narrator is building a cage of pure logic, one fact at a time, without ever pointing a finger. This isn't about shouting or pressure. It's about creating an environment where the suspect feels compelled to engage, to show they're smarter than the person questioning them. The narrator patiently lays out the sequence of events, a sterile, factual account of what happened. They are painting a picture, but deliberately leaving a few key brushstrokes missing. The goal isn't to get a signed confession right then and there. It's to lure the suspect into revealing a piece of knowledge that only the guilty person could possess. It's a brilliant, subtle trap, and then it happens. The moment the entire strategy was built for, the narrator says, "He interrupted me. He corrected a detail I hadn't said out loud. That was it. He knew too much." Think about that. The suspect, in a moment of perceived superiority or a desperate need to control the narrative, gives himself away. He fills in a blank that only the perpetrator could know. It wasn't a slip of the tongue in the heat of an argument. It was a calculated correction that sealed his fate. This is the confession without words. It's not about what he said, but what he knew. Chapter 15, titled, Not This Time. This chapter is all about a choice, a single decision that ripples through time and reshapes a life. I chose differently this time. It was a conscious act, a deliberate turn away from the path I had walked so many times before. The arrest, when it happened, was a quiet affair. There were no flashing cameras eager to capture the drama, no chorus of applause celebrating a job well done. It was just the sterile silence of procedure, a stark contrast to the chaos I had grown accustomed to. The drifter, the one who could have so easily been the scapegoat, simply walked free. He didn't offer any grand words of gratitude. He didn't need to. He just gave me a single understanding nod. And in that silent exchange, a world of meaning passed between us. Something had shifted, not just for him, but for me. The old patterns were broken. That night, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I didn't reach for the bottle. The familiar burn of whiskey, my usual companion in moments of triumph or despair, held no appeal. Instead, I sat with the quiet, letting it fill the spaces that alcohol once occupied. The gnawing emptiness I always tried to drown was less. It was still there, a faint echo in the background, but it wasn't screaming for attention. I just sat, and I breathed, and I felt the solid ground beneath my feet. And then, a vision, or maybe a memory from a future I was just now creating, came to me. I saw a hospital room, decades from now. The air was clean, filled with the steady, rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. That sound wasn't the frantic alarm of a life in crisis. It was the calm, reassuring pulse of a life lived. In that room, there was a voice, one I knew intimately, but it wasn't speaking. It didn't need to. The silence wasn't one of disappointment or regret. It was a silence of peace, of acceptance. And in that moment, I understood. For the very first time, the future didn't feel ashamed of me. It was waiting, not with judgment, but with a quiet sense of welcome. I had finally made a choice it could be proud of. Thank you for listening. This was a powerful chapter, and it leaves us with so much to think about. What will this change mean for our protagonist? We'll find out together. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to T News 9, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. See you then.